Live from London, this is BBC News. King Charles makes a surprise visit to fans waiting on the Mall with the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Really well, thank you.
Very excited.
Excited, a bit nervous, obviously with a big day ahead, but no, can't wait actually.
Afternoon for the King. He's currently meeting Commonwealth heads of state ahead of a garden party at the palace later this evening.
And I'm at Westminster Abbey, where final preparations for tomorrow's coronation as the King and Queen consort attend a final rehearsal here.
The World Health Organization says COVID-19 no longer represents a global health emergency, a major step towards ending the pandemic. In the UK, the Conservatives suffer significant council losses in local election results, with nearly half of all results declared. And the Wagner mercenary group posts a social media video of its leader criticising Russia for not sending the force enough ammunition. Hello, welcome to BBC News. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. Thanks very much for your company, and it's a big day here in London, so let's waste no time at all. My colleague Christian Fraser is at Buckingham Palace. Hi, Christian.
Hello, Lewis. You know what? You'd struggle to dress appropriately today. It's raining, it's bucketing down, and then the sun comes out. It's looking glorious again. And it was glorious, in fact, just in the last hour as we saw the King and the senior members of the royal family, the Prince and Princess of Wales, heading down the Mall to meet lots of well-wishers who were there, 4 or 5 deep at the barriers this afternoon. In fact, they'd had plenty of warning that something like this was coming, because you can probably see behind me everything has been sealed off here ahead of the garden party this evening. And the King earlier in the day had been meeting Governors General and Prime Ministers from the Commonwealth realm, 14 countries, including Canada, New Zealand, Australia and Jamaica. And then he left the palace on his way down to Marlborough House, where he's meeting Commonwealth leaders this afternoon. Got out of the car, and as you can see, spent about 20 minutes, half an hour shaking hands with people who were queuing patiently at the top of the Mall. The Prince and Princess of Wales down the left-hand side, and King Charles down the right-hand side. Lots of Commonwealth flags, lots of people who've flown in specially for the event today. So excited to see the royals. There is the Princess of Wales. Let's have a listen to some of what was said as they were at the barriers.
Really well, thank you.
Very excited.
Excited, a bit nervous, obviously with a big day ahead, but no, can't wait actually.
And what about you and William?
Yeah, all good. Hopefully a bit like sort of Swans, sort of relatively calm on the outside and sort of paddly on the inside.
And what about King Charles? Is he?
I'm sure looking forward to it as well. So it's nice to be out here and saying hello to everyone who's obviously stayed out for so long, and we'll be overnight. Some people are staying overnight. Are you staying out overnight?
I'm part of the press,
Yeah.
BBC. So
are you out overnight?
We're here every day.
Yeah.
So it's
going to be a long.
Hopefully it'll be dry.
Are you tired?
A bit.
Yeah, I bet, because
so
it's long
much.
hours for everybody.
It is.
But no, it's a really great moment.
So
a moment of celebration as well. So.
Have you got an early start tomorrow?
Yes, an early start, but I think everyone has. Very nice to see you. Hello.
Lots of nerves ahead tomorrow, and of course Prince George, one of the younger members of the royal family, will be playing a prominent role tomorrow. He is a page in the ceremony, and so he will probably be going through his paces over the next few hours, so he knows what he's doing tomorrow, but an exciting role for him to play. In the 40 seconds you were listening to the Princess of Wales, we've just seen the car with the royal standard on it go past, so the King back in residence at Buckingham Palace after attending that garden party at Marlborough House. So the people that are still on the Mall probably have just seen him and waved at the King. Let's go there. Chi-Chi Azunda is with the well-wishers at the top of the Mall. Who have you got with you, Chi-Chi?
Well, I've got the wonderful Debbie Hoover. You just saw King Charles go past and gave him a wave, but you're more excited because you got to meet the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Yes, very, very excited. We get to speak to them, ask them about the children, shake their hands. We mentioned to the princess that my aunt couldn't come because she broke her foot, and then we handed the phone to Kate, and she actually talked to my aunt.
That's
Laid
so
her down
kind of her.
Yeah, very, very down to earth, very special lady.
Because you have a wonderful adornment on your head.
Yes, yes.
It's not the first royal visit
No.
it's had, is it?
No, I brought the swan with me when we came for Harry and Meghan's wedding, so she had to make her return for the coronation.
And how has it? It is wonderful. Has it been spotted by the royal? Were you wearing it when Prince William and Princess Kate?
I was not wearing it, but maybe they'll see it tomorrow.
And you say that you've missed your children's birthdays.
Yes, I guess Meghan couldn't come to the wedding because it's Archie's birthday, but tomorrow is also my children's birthday. So I was thinking, well, if she's not coming, maybe I can be Prince Harry's +1.
Interesting.
Yes.
How have you found it being camping alongside the Mall with the rest of the
Great. It's great. The British people are wonderful. Love them. Met some Americans and other countries here. It's just awesome. It's just great.
Why did you feel it was so important to come all the way from Texas for this event?
I'm a royal family junkie. I love the royal family, everything about it. I love London, love England. If I could get my husband to move here, we'd be on the next plane.
And how much did it mean to you to shake the hands of the royal family?
I probably won't ever wash my right hand again.
It meant that much to you?
Yes, so excited. Never thought that would happen.
And so you said that you handed your phone
Yes.
to Princess
Actually,
Kate.
my mom handed her phone to Princess Kate. And she, asked if she'd speak to my aunt, and she did.
And did your aunt really believe that?
No, she thought it was a joke, and she was speaking in an English accent and said, oh, well, I'll pop on down or up next year or whatever. And then we hung up the phone. I'm like, no, you really were speaking to Princess Catherine.
And do you have a video to show?
Yes, we do have a video.
And so what are your plans for the rest of the day? Because thankfully the sun has come out.
Yes, thank goodness. But we're prepared for rain. We're just going to camp out here through tomorrow.
And are you looking forward to the festivities of tomorrow?
Absolutely. Can't wait. So exciting. So blessed to be here. Thank you, honey.
Well, Debbie, and your wonderful swan hat, we cannot thank you enough for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Because as you can see, there is still a lot of excitement here on the Mall for just any royal coming past in the cars or even stopping to congratulate or thank the people that have been camping here for days, even up to a whole week, in the rain, in the sunshine, in the very tumultuous British weather.
Thank you very much. Yes, special memories for people who are on the Mall this afternoon. It was touch and go as well. We were told that if it rained, that walkabout might not go ahead. So mercifully, the sun shone and they got to see the royals. And we'll probably take many of those pictures home with them to show friends and family. Plenty going on here just outside Victoria's Memorial at the moment. The roundabout sealed off because we're going to see in the next few hours guests arriving. There are royal families arriving from all over Europe. I've seen pictures this afternoon of King Philippe from Belgium coming in on a Eurostar. There's Czech royalty who's flown in economy. Of course, royals around Europe don't have a coronation. They got rid of their coronations many years ago. As Caddy Kay will well know, she's down at the Abbey because she's just done a documentary which you can find on the iPlayer all about the European royals, and they will be here in force this afternoon, Catty.
Yeah, they may not have their own coronations, but they are more than happy to attend this one, particularly those royals like the Czech ones, I suspect, who don't have thrones of their own. It means even more to them to be included in a royal ceremony. And remember, many of them are related. I mean, you start wandering into the European royal palaces and you realize how many of them come from the same grandparents or great-grandparents. So it's kind of like, turning up to your cousin's big do. I agree with you on the fashion. Very difficult to know what to wear today, but clearly, Christian, you've missed a trick and we should both have been wearing swan hats because that nice woman from Texas, I think, stole the whole program. Good for her and for getting her aunt on the phone with Princess Catherine. I loved that story. That was one of the best stories I've heard. Okay, I have a guest here with me. We haven't got very much going on at the Abbey at the moment. The crowds are going through, the security forces are moving them backwards and forwards. But of course, tomorrow, huge event. This is where the focus will all switch to, and I'm joined by Rosie Hart, who is an English historian and a TikTok influencer. You've got a TikTok account called The Royal Wardrobe, so you are absolutely the right person to talk to about the fashion that's going to be happening tomorrow. First of all, the 4 changes of clothes. 4 different outfits for the king.
Yeah, that's an awful lot.
No swan hats, though.
No swan hats, but plenty of crowns. We'll see 2 different crowns for the king, one for the queen, which is going to be very exciting. St. Edward's crown is rarely ever seen other than at a coronation, so it will be lovely to see that out in use again.
That's the one that's so heavy that he's only going to wear it for the actual coronation ceremony.
Yes, and there have been so many monarchs throughout history who have had to pass up on that crown because they don't think they're going to be able to carry it on their heads.
Talk to me, Rosie, the bit of the ceremony that we're not going to see that's so intriguing, which is the anointment itself, where the king actually sort of disrobes, as it were, into a simple... I'm trying to picture what that's like, what he has. He'll be wearing what, like a kind of linen nightgown or something? What is it that he wears during that moment?
It's sort of like a tunic, a very shapeless white tunic. The design for it has hardly changed at all since it was introduced into the coronation ceremony. So it's probably one of the most authentically original parts of the coronation outfit.
And that's when he's then helped back into a different set of sumptuous robes.
Yes, that's when he gets into all of the gold robes that we will see him crowned wearing. So that will be the moment he sort of transforms into the monarch.
Okay, talk to me about your TikTok account, The Royal Wardrobe, because we've all seen the polling that younger Britons are less interested in the royal family than older Britons. TikTok, the ultimate younger Britain's medium, and it's interesting to me that you even have a TikTok account that is called the Royal Wardrobe, because it suggests to me that there is interest.
Yes, there really is an interest, and on my TikTok account I talk a lot about historical royal fashion, and I think there is still a huge interest from young people at the history of the monarchy. Lots of young people are looking to sort of reclaim, especially the women from royal history who have perhaps been sort of sidelined, and sort of bring out their stories. So there's a lot of interest that's still there for young people. But one of the things that I think pulls young people in is in these surveys and the data that has come out, a huge portion of young people have said that they answer to these questions that they don't know how they feel about the royal family. And to me that says there's a sort of communication issue here, with young people not understanding why they should care about the royal family and what the royal family means to them. So I think young people are interested in at least trying to figure out whether they are for the monarchy or against the monarchy through information, and TikTok is a really good way of teaching people that.
That's so interesting and so much more nuanced than the numbers might suggest, because everyone sees the numbers, that becomes the headline, young Britons losing interest in the monarchy. But what you're suggesting is actually, from what you see on social media and the interactions that you have and the way that they are answering those questions, it may not actually be that they're all saying, listen, it's time for us to get rid of the monarchy, even if it went that far. It's more, we don't know yet how we feel, but we have engagement.
Yes, there is still, I think there is still the time for that data to sort of swing maybe a little bit more in the royal family's favour, but the only way that that's going to happen is through trying to speak and communicate a little bit more with this younger generation.
And this event, this coronation, I'm thinking of it, it's so visual. From the moment the king leaves Buckingham Palace, the procession to come here, the ceremony itself, which we will all see in glorious Technicolor, which there will be literally thousands of camera people, because everyone's going to have their cell phones and be filming it. And then from when he leaves, I would have thought it's a made for social media moment.
Yes, and it's been really interesting to see how the royal family on their social media channels, particularly on Instagram, have approached the coronation, because they are taking a more informative approach. They're making sure that everybody understands exactly what regalia is going to be used, what each section of the coronation is supposed to represent. So that's a really great step in the right direction that is really going to help people understand what this ceremony is supposed to mean and what it's supposed to represent for the royal family. And I mean, throughout history, the coronation has often been used as a moment for the royal family to sort of touch base with the population and say, this is what we view our role to be, this is how we want to go forward in this new reign. So it's going to be a huge moment of education.
I think we've already seen that in the last couple of days, haven't we, with so many outings. Kate and William yesterday, Kate and William today on the Mall, the King and Queen Camilla consort on the Mall today, all of them very much in situations where they are talking to people. I mean, even, taking the tube. Now you might say, well, that's a little bit of an obvious stunt. They probably don't take the tube every day, but they're doing it. They're taking the tube, and it seems to me there's a sort of shift. This is a royal family that's going to be more accessible.
Yes, and while that is great and that is a real stride in the right direction, I think the thing that will make that move more impactful and more successful is if they really double down on communicating particularly the work that they do, not just that they go out and greet people, but why it's important for them to go out and greet people. Why is it important that they make these visits to charities? What impact does that have on our everyday lives, on young people? So it's a step in the right direction, but I think there's a long way to go still.
Do you think young people don't know what work the royals do?
Yes,
they're not aware of it that much.
And I think one of the clearest indicators of that is if you look at what King Charles throughout his life and his time as a working royal has dedicated himself to. One of those big issues has been the environment, which is something that young people, Gen Z, are so passionate about. But that should be a moment for sort of a connection there. But I think there are so many young people who don't understand what a trailblazer he was and the work that the royal family have actually gone and done to help those issues. And I think if that was more clearly communicated, the real impact of the royal family, those people who are sort of on the fence might be more inclined to say, yeah, you know what, I see the value of the royal family and I'm happy to get behind them.
I'm presuming that the work that Kate and William have done as well on mental health issues is also an issue that resonates with young people. Do you see that on TikTok?
Yes, definitely. But I think at the moment, you can look at the surveys and you can see that William and Kate, they're so much more popular. And I think, especially with shows like The Crown, there's a little bit more hesitation to side with Charles and Camilla. So I think they're the ones who are going to need to tune into younger people.
Rosie Hart, thank you very much for joining me here outside Westminster Abbey. Christian, back to you. I think you've got some breaking news outside Buckingham Palace.
Yes, I'm going to come back to you, Cathy, in a second. We're going to peel away from news about the coronation because we've got a projected national share of the vote from the local elections. Results coming in all the time, of course. Let's just speak to Rob Watson, who's been taking a look at those figures. What do you see, Rob?
Without any further ado, let me come straight to them, Christian, and they're very interesting indeed. I'll read them out and people will forgive me for looking down at my phone to get it right. But the projected share is if this had been a nationwide vote, the Conservatives would have got 26%. The main opposition, Labour Party, 35%, the Liberal Democrats, 20%, and others, 19%. And I just for 1 second, if you'll to try and make it relevant, compare it to what actually happened at the 2019 general election, where the Conservatives obviously won it with a large majority. They got 43.6% of the vote. Labour were way down in 32.1%, and the Liberal Democrats on 11.5%. So what do we pick out from this? Well, we pick out two things. Number one, that the Conservatives are in a whole heap of trouble, and their vote share has really declined very sharply from when they won that massive majority in 2019. It does suggest that Labour has a pretty healthy lead, but as you could see from that 35%, the idea that they're going to be winning a landslide as Tony Blair did in 1997 at the next election, well, they don't seem to be at that point yet. They've made progress. It looks like this is a country that wants to see change, but have they sort of sold the deal yet? I mean, these figures would suggest they have work to do, but it's a pretty healthy lead, a 9% lead that the Labour Party has over Conservatives. Sorry for all those figures, Christian.
No, but it's an important point you make, Rob, because, of course, Labour suffered their worst election result in 2019 in many a year. And to swing it back the other way, they would need something of a result like 1945, like Clement Attlee, or maybe a 1997 like Tony Blair. Do you see that in the figures that you're looking at there? A swing of that kind? Or is this just, as the leader of the opposition said a few hours ago, is this just a foundation on which to build?
Well, it certainly is a foundation. I mean, whether it leads to more than that, I think we'll have to find out over the next few months. I mean, nobody could say for sure. But I think it is interesting that they do have this lead. It's nearly double figures. But I just throw in this point. And that is, you know, yes, Labour have this lead. Yes, they have work to do. But in an interesting way, and this is a point that's been raised by our great guru that we always use on the BBC, Professor John Curtis, who's done these projected figures, the psephologist and professor of politics. And that is that, you know, even if it's not the case that the British people have somehow sold on Labour, they like the look of Keir Starmer, it may be that you could win an election almost by default, that the governing party, the Conservatives, are so unpopular that they lose anyway. Do you see? That's a slightly different. That's a slightly at a tangent to what you're asking, Christian. In other words, you could win an election not necessarily because there'd been this fantastic mood swing towards your party, but perhaps just because the others were doing so badly.
Yeah, you can win, but how well are you going to win? That is the unknown answer at the moment. Rob, thank you very much for that. And of course, for UK viewers, we'll come back to that shortly this hour. And if you want to see more of these results, of course, you can find it on the BBC app and on the BBC website. Caddy Kay still with me down at the Abbey. I was listening to you talking about Commonwealth dress, coronation dress, Catty. And I was reading some really interesting comments today from the Lord Great Chamberlain, Rupert Carrington, who has a prominent role to play tomorrow because he will be handing over some of the regalia, the spurs. Not that King Charles will be wearing the spurs tomorrow, but he said that they've been told late in the week that they could indeed wear their coronation robes, which have been in the cupboard for quite some time. Some of them are a bit threadbare, some of them a bit moth-eaten, like some of my suits. But as I was reading this, and it's the detail behind it which I really like, is that the Lord Great Chamberlain plays a major role in coronations because he has the right to dress the monarch, and he also has the right to serve him water before and after the coronation. So clearly this has been a ceremonial role through the ages, and I dare say in days of yore, the Lord Great Chamberlain, that would be an envied position because you could probably whisper in the monarch's ear and people would be passing on information. But I'm not sure Rupert Carrington handing out Evian water tomorrow is really the look. I'm sure that's one of the things that has maybe been faded out. Let's talk about the lunch, though, that's been at the palace today, because the royals have been entertaining leaders, governors general from the Commonwealth realm. And when I talk about the Commonwealth realm, I mean those 14 countries that have King Charles as monarch, as head of state. And ahead of this meeting, Catty, there was news from Jamaica that they want to fast forward to a referendum and remove the royal family as head of state in Jamaica. So, I mean, clearly we don't know the result of that, but clearly these meetings have a bearing, and they're important occasions for the royal family, Catty, because they don't happen that often.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that people have described King Charles as a convener, whether it's on the issue of climate or whatever issue it is that he's interested in, or the issue of the countries of which he is still the monarch, or the Commonwealth. He is somebody who is good at bringing people together to have conversations. And I thought it was interesting, the very fact that at the moment of the coronation, there is basically a working lunch going on that is deciding how these countries are going to deal with their future on important issues, like whether King Charles is going to stay the head of their realm, but that he has brought them together for what is quite a sort of, imagine if this was, I don't know, what do you call it, the G14 of the old, you know, British Empire, effectively, that these countries are coming together to have these conversations. I thought was interesting. It feels like it's more than just a ceremonial lunch. It does feel like it's a real working lunch. And with Jamaica's news, following, of course, from Barbados's decision to do away with the crown as the head of state, it's not something that's unexpected. This had been anticipated. And I was reading Tina Brown, actually, who wrote the Palace Papers, who has pretty good sources in Buckingham Palace, saying that Charles himself is quite relaxed about this, that he is not trying to fight this, that he realises that this is likely to happen and could well happen during the course of his realm. So he's not taking this as a personal snub.
It's interesting as well as you watch these pictures, Catty, it is a slimmed down royal family. That is something that King Charles has brought about. Of course, we see the new Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh Prince and Princess of Wales, the Princess Royal, who I think many people have taken to their hearts again since the late Queen's funeral. This is the core, this is the heart of the royal family that will take up the royal duties. You don't see Prince Andrew, you don't see the lesser royals now taking part in these kind of events.
No, and those working royals are the ones who are going to be on the balcony tomorrow at Buckingham Palace. That's going to be the iconic family image. There's been speculation about whether there would be a second balcony appearance with more of the extended family. Let's see if that happens. But just having that one appearance with the working royals is very much a message to the country and to the world that this monarchy is slightly different. It is this slimmed down monarchy. And you were talking earlier about that the travels I've done around Europe. And one of the reasons that the Norwegian monarchy has 80% approval ratings, that the Danish monarchy has approval ratings in the 70s, is because they have slimmed down. They've managed to do things that make them stay relevant at a time when people are having economic problems. And that means making some tough decisions about who does things like appear on the balcony.
Indeed so. And this is a bit of the walkabout that we saw just a short time ago. The rain is starting to reappear. The forecast not that good, I'm afraid, for tomorrow. The Met Office says it's going to be cloudy and rainy, and of course that has implications for the flyby, which is expected around 2:15 tomorrow afternoon. But they will be here in their massed ranks for the coronation. Be sure about that. Thousands of people expected to turn up, and we will get underway here at the Palace at 10:15 tomorrow morning. You're watching BBC News.
Hello there. An area of high pressure in Scandinavia is drawing in some polar air and moving that into parts of Eastern Europe. So temperatures continue to be well below average here. Got a band of rain that's going to be moving its way across Germany, into Poland as well as we go through this weekend, with the winds picking up into parts of Denmark, northern Germany, into Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia as well. Now we've got gusty Meltemi winds working through the Aegean. Gusts here could reach around 50 or even 60 kilometres an hour. Plenty of showers and thunderstorms for Turkey. Some dry weather for Italy, and for much of Spain, dry, sunny and quite warm, but there'll be some showers in the northwest and a few showers also affecting Portugal. Rather more unsettled weather conditions for the United Kingdom and France, with outbreaks of rain developing through the day on Saturday, and that rain is going to be pushing its way eastwards into Sunday. So we've got another area of rain heading into Germany, Austria, Switzerland and eastern areas of France through Sunday, with the weather slowly brightening up. Mixture of sunshine and showers for West France, some warm sunshine for most of Spain and Portugal, but a few storms in the northeast of Spain. The outlook over the next few days now. In Madrid, it's dry and sunny from Sunday onwards. It gets warmer into Tuesday, but then quite a drop of temperatures into the middle part of the week. In Berlin, rain at times probably best sums up the weather. It stays generally on the cool side as well.
Now showing on BBC Real.
Colonel Thomas Blood was born in County Meath, Ireland in early 1618, the son of a prosperous blacksmith. In 1642, with the outbreak of the English Civil War, Blood initially fights for King Charles I, but would later switch sides to fight for Parliament. And as we shall see, with Colonel Thomas Blood, nothing is quite what it seems.
So in the 1670s, security wasn't really what it should have been at the Tower of London as far as the Crown Jewels were concerned. They were kept at this time in the Martin Tower. There they were looked after by an ageing ex-soldier. His job was to show people the Crown Jewels, and if you paid him a bit of money, you could even hold them.
Colonel Thomas Blood remains the only person in history that ever dared to steal them.
Watch more stories like this at bbc.com/real.
Here in the Maldives, sandbanks like this appear and disappear, and that really influences the way that the people live and adapt.
Can you hear the sounds of the wildebeest?
It's everywhere, isn't it? 3D sound.
Yes.
Something you can't get anywhere else.
Any kind of weather problems that you can imagine, we got them here. We have earthquakes, we have tsunami.
Let's hope we have none of those things today, right? A lot of black people think they cannot go to the water for surfing, and they can do it. Everybody can surf it. Everybody can do it. Everybody can surf.
Inspiring travel on the BBC.
You're a raver.
Do I look like a raver?
I've got bass in a backpack. This is amazing.
Dancing for like 4 or 5 hours of a gig, you could generate about 800 kilowatt hours of thermal energy.
Right, so shall we give it a taste? And it's my favourite.
We're really talking to the plants, and they're telling us how happy they are.
It can fly, but it can also float on water.
Oh my God, that came by quick.
It's all about augmented reality.
Beautiful, right? Beautiful.
Totally and utterly immersed in another world there.
Your Tech Update. Click on BBC News.
This is BBC News, the headlines. With less than 24 hours to go until the coronation, King Charles makes a surprise visit to fans waiting on the Mall with the Prince and Princess of Wales. The World Health Organization says COVID-19 no longer represents a global health emergency, a major step towards ending the pandemic. In England, the Conservatives suffer significant council losses in local elections. And the Wagner mercenary group posts a social media video of its leader berating Russia for not sending the force enough ammunition. OK, we're just going to get some breaking news now that we just mentioned there in the headlines. The World Health Organization has declared that COVID-19 is no longer a global health emergency. The announcement came from the WHO director, Dr. Tedros, who said countries could now transition from emergency mode to managing the threat, which he warned remained considerable.
Yesterday, the Emergency Committee met for the 15th time and recommended to me that I declare an end to the public health emergency of international concern. I have accepted that advice. It's therefore with great hope that I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency.
Well, the World Health Organization first declared COVID a global health emergency back in January 2020. Since then, the weekly death rate has slowed down from a peak of more than 100,000 to just over 3,500 last month. Dr. Tedros reflected on the human toll.
In 3 years since then, COVID-19 has turned our world upside down. Almost 7 million deaths have been reported to WHO. But we know the toll is several times higher, at least 20 million.
OK, we're going to head to the BBC Sports Centre now and get the latest sport. Hi, Betty.
Hello, thanks, Lewis. There was no Lionel Messi at Paris Saint-Germain's training today ahead of their game on Sunday. This comes the day after PSG suspended him following his trip to Saudi Arabia without the club's permission. Now, Messi has a commercial contract with Saudi Arabia to promote tourism in the Middle Eastern country and has been linked with a move there at the end of the season. It's after reports the World Cup winner is leaving PSG this summer at the end of his contract. Now, it only took 33 years, but on Thursday night, Napoli became the champions of Italy. As you can imagine, the celebrations went long into the early morning. They only needed a point at Udinese, and after falling a goal behind, Victor Osimhen struck his 22nd goal of the season, ensuring it finished 1-1, giving Napoli a massive 16-point lead at the top of the table. The players were mobbed after a pitch invasion at full time, and it's their first league title since Diego Maradona captained them to glory in 1990. And these were the scenes in the city of Naples after that win. Roads were filled with people singing, dancing and hugging one another. A celebration more than 3 decades in the making. Look at those scenes. Now, world number 1, Iga Swiatek has made it to her first final at tennis's Madrid Open. She cruised past 12th seed Veronika Kudermetova 6-1, 6-1 to set up a rematch against Aryna Sabalenka, who's ranked 2nd in the world. The two played each other in the final of the Stuttgart Open at the end of last month. Swiatek won that one 6-3, 6-4 as she gears up for her French Open title defence later in May. It's actually the first time since 2013 that the top two are meeting twice in the same season on clay. Now, in the NBA, defending champions the Golden State Warriors beat the Los Angeles Lakers 127 points to 100 to level their Western Conference semi-final at one game apiece. Klay Thompson top scored with 30 points for the Warriors, with Stephen Curry adding 20 points and 12 assists. LeBron James led the Lakers with 23 points, but sat out the entire final quarter. The games now head to Los Angeles for games 3 and 4 of the best-of-7 series.
They made their adjustments, and we knew they were going to do that. That's what a championship team does, and they held serve on their home court tonight, and we got to obviously see the adjustments they make. We got to make our adjustments coming into Game 3.
Catherine Sciver-Brunt says that playing cricket for England saved her life. She's been speaking after announcing her retirement from international cricket after 2 decades. She's widely regarded as one of the greatest fast bowlers to play the game. She'd taken 335 international wickets, more than any other woman for England. And she's also won the Ashes 3 times, the 50-over World Cup twice and the T20 title once.
I've spent too long thinking about the end because I never wanted it to end. It's a lot of things. Like it's saved my life for sure, and it's created me an amazing life that I can only have dreamed of. It's such a special sport. It's an art. It's a life lesson, and it's everything you need. It's everything I needed to be who I am today. And I'm proud of the last 19 years.
Now, Pakistan have set New Zealand 335 to win the 4th ODI in Karachi at the mid-innings interval. Pakistan's captain Babar Azam continued his impressive form in the series, top scoring with 107, his 18th ODI century. Matt Henry was the pick of the New Zealand bowlers, taking 3 for 65. And that is all the sport for now. Thank you for listening and watching.
Betty, thanks for that. Next, Russia's Wagner mercenary group has posted a video on social media of its leader criticising Russia's defence minister. We've clearly bleeped the swearing there. Yevgeny Prigozhin is the man in this video saying his group doesn't have enough ammunition to stay and fight, and has been issuing increasingly angry warnings to Moscow. Now, the video shows him swearing and denouncing the Russian defence minister for its failings while walking among the bodies of dead fighters. Both Russia and Ukraine are thought to have lost tens of thousands of men fighting for the city. Well, we can cross now to Vitaly Shevchenko, our Russia editor for BBC Monitoring. Vitaly, good to see you. This is a really shocking video.
It is a shocking video, the style of it and the tone of it, but perhaps what's more important in practical terms is a later video issued by Wagner in which its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, is saying that he is going to withdraw his mercenaries from Bakhmut, this key battleground in the Russia-Ukraine war. He says that Wagner has become the victim of plotting by envious military bureaucrats. And he says they've started to deliberately starve Wagner of ammunition. Now, we knew that there was no love lost between Wagner and Russia's top brass, but this threat to leave Bakhmut, it takes this standoff between Prigozhin and Russia's military officials to a whole new level, because he's threatening to do something. And if he does withdraw from Bakhmut, that's going to leave the Russian military in a very vulnerable position. Do they have the resources to continue trying to advance in that area of eastern Ukraine, and what this all means for Wagner, which is a very significant private military group that's active in the war with Ukraine.
And Vitaly, these threats to leave, how much weight do you put behind them?
Well, Yevgeny Prigozhin is a bit of an attention seeker, and he's been complaining loudly, I should say, for months now about ammunition shortages. And in the past, he has been accused, particularly by Western governments, of disinformation, and some of them have sanctioned him for various information and disinformation operations. So a lot of people are taking his threats with a bit of skepticism, but we have to wait until next Wednesday, May the 10th, when he says he is planning to withdraw from Bakhmut. Is the day after Victory Day in Russia, and he says this state holiday is so important, he's not going to spoil it by withdrawing from Bakhmut, but the day after he's gone.
Okay. Vitaly, thank you very much for that. Next, London's Old Bailey Court has sentenced a prominent Nigerian senator to 9 years and 8 months in prison after he was found guilty of trafficking a man to Britain to harvest one of his kidneys. Let's go live now to our Home Affairs correspondent, Tom Simons. Tom.
Yes, Ike Ekweremadu is a senior political figure in Nigeria, and his supporters wrote to the court today to ask for the judge to give him some leniency, saying he was somebody who played a major part in that country's transition to a democracy. But the judge handed down a pretty stiff sentence, just under 10 years, for being involved in a plot that he said preyed upon poverty, misery and desperation. He said it was a despicable trade. And he's talking about the attempts of Ike Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice and a middleman, Dr. Obinna Abita, to source a kidney, a human kidney, for the daughter of the Ekweremadus, Sonia Ekweremadu, who is extremely ill with a kidney disease. And to do that, they didn't try and find somebody within their own family. They found a young man living pretty much on the streets of Lagos selling mobile phone parts, and effectively duped him into coming to the UK, telling him that he would get a job and somewhere to live, and that he would be able to work in the UK. This man had never travelled on a plane before, had to be taught how to use some of the equipment in the home of the man who brought him to London, because he'd never experienced those sort of Western goods. And the whole thing really only came to a halt when doctors at the Royal Free Hospital in London realised that this young man hadn't consented, didn't really know what was going on, and called a halt to the process. But this is a very unusual case, the use of British human trafficking laws to deal with a case where a person was brought over with the intention of taking away their kidney, a very serious medical intervention, and giving it to somebody else. Now, those sentences, 9 years, 8 months for Ike Ekweremadu, just over 4 years for his wife Beatrice, and 10 years for Dr. Obinna Abita, who was the middleman, who played a very important role in selecting the victim in this case and getting him to the UK. As for the victim, we heard today in court that he was really terrified of the Ekweremadus, didn't want to go back to Nigeria, is being looked after by a charity in Britain. And I think perhaps most tellingly, the judge decided he wanted to offer the opportunity for this victim to get compensation directly from the Ekweremadus, who are pretty well off. And the victim said no, he did not want money from bad people.
OK, Tom, thank you so much for that. Tom Simons there. Right, we'll have plenty more news from the UK and, of course, around the world. Now, though, let's head back to Buckingham Palace, get all the latest build-up to the King's coronation. Christian is there. Hi, Christian.
Hello, Lewis. Thank you very much. Yes, so we've been watching the King's movements through the afternoon. He's been quite busy today. He's had leaders from the Commonwealth realm, 14 governors general and prime ministers in the palace for a lunch, and then off to Marlborough House via the Mall and a walkabout to meet the Commonwealth leaders down there. And so we thought we'd speak to someone who's connected to the Commonwealth. She is Linda Yu. She is the chair of the Royal Commonwealth Society. 50-plus democracies, over 2.4 billion people around the world. Tell us, first of all, what the Royal Commonwealth Society does.
It's the oldest charity dedicated to the Commonwealth, and we deliver charity projects on mostly targeting young people, including disadvantaged young people, in the areas of literacy, equality, communities, and the environment.
I've just noticed, I'm calling you a Royal Commonwealth Society, but of course all the patronages, when the Queen died, lapsed, and they still have to be fully declared. But the fact that you've got an invitation to the grandstand tomorrow, which we'll talk about, suggests that you have quite a prominent role in the eyes of the King.
Oh, no comment there. The invitation said the royal patronages have not been settled, but we do deliver a couple of projects in the Queen's name, as the Queen's Commonwealth Essay Competition, which is the oldest school writing competition in the world. We're lucky enough that when she was the Duchess of Cornwall, she would host the award ceremony right behind us in Buckingham Palace, just rewarding these incredible young people from around the Commonwealth for writing these inspirational pieces. We've also delivered the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy, which the then Prince Charles announced that we had gotten all of the Commonwealth countries signed up to protect a piece of their environment, a piece of forest in the late Queen's name. So we will continue to deliver these projects and wait to hear, like everyone else.
Of course, King Charles was re-elected as the head of the Commonwealth, re-chosen as the head of the Commonwealth. Do you think that would happen again?
In Rwanda last summer, so the heads of Commonwealth governments get together every 2 years, and they had actually decided in London, so the 2 years previous to that, that King Charles would succeed the late Queen as the head of the Commonwealth, and it was a unanimous decision, and in fact the late Queen said it was her desire that should happen. So he has taken over as the head of the Commonwealth. I should have said we also deliver the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey in March every year, and he gave his first speech as head of the Commonwealth live during that service that was broadcast on the BBC and on the World Service around the world.
But we've been debating the role of the King within the Commonwealth, and there clearly is a debate about it. Does the royal family need the Commonwealth, or does the Commonwealth need the royal family?
I actually think from the space that we sit in, the royal family plays a huge role in supporting the charities of the Commonwealth. The way the Commonwealth is structured, so you have governments, that's the what I just described, and I think you know the Commonwealth Secretariat, but the third pillar are the charities, and this is where I have seen the royal family really get involved in terms of, encouraging young people to write, encouraging, community building. This is where I think they do elevate and really highlight these issues that for the Commonwealth, 60% of the population is under the age of 30. There's just so many people who actually could benefit from cross-cultural links and getting support for their charity work, and that's where the royal family, I've seen them play a role. For instance, the late Queen established a Queen's Young Leaders program, so we were a partner in that, and our current associate fellows have these young people. So that to me is where I've seen them do their service and has made a lasting impact.
Clearly there is a role for the King to play, but for a lot of these countries, the question is whether he should be their head of state, whether culturally he reflects what their modern society is within their respective nations. When you go around the Commonwealth, do you hear much of that debate?
There's quite a lot of, I think, debate around, all these issues, as there should be. So the Commonwealth realms, including the UK, so that's about 15 countries out of the 56 Commonwealth countries. So, countries have decided, like Barbados, that they want a different head of state. But the number of Commonwealth countries have actually increased from last year, from 54 to 56. So regardless of whether he's, head of their state, he is the head of the Commonwealth, and these countries see a value in joining together. And I would say the work that we do, we see the people-to-people links, and how much that defines the Commonwealth, I think, is a reflection of what the royal family places on the importance of people and service. If you think about other international networks like the G20, there's not a lot of people-to-people links. I mean, it's just governments getting together. So I think, every country should have their debate. The democracies, they should decide, but for us, working in the Commonwealth space, I'm delighted to see him as the Commonwealth and the support they continue to give to young people.
Well, Linda, thank you for coming to talk to us. I said you were sitting in the grandstand. Have you marked out your seat?
I was trying to spot where I might be. I think I had no idea.
Right, okay. Who are you bringing down here?
Yeah. So we're lucky enough to bring down volunteers and a lot of young people who have done great work for us. So we'll be enjoying
well,
the
it's good reward
tomorrow.
for them. Linda,
Yes.
lovely to see you. Thank you very much for coming. Let's quickly scoot over to the Mall because Robin Brandt is there with some people who were there for the walkabout earlier, Robin.
Yeah, busy day, Christian, like you said, for the King and people around him in the family, but there was still time for that walkabouts. Walkabouts that look good for the cameras, let's be honest, and walkabouts for the King and members of the royal family to meet the people who have put so much effort into coming down here as well. In a minute, we're going to hear from two people who met the King, but first, let's hear from the Princess of Wales, who actually spoke, I think, exclusively to my colleague Emily Silverdari.
Really well, thank you.
Very excited.
Excited, a bit nervous, obviously with a big day ahead, but no, can't wait actually.
And what about you and William?
Yeah, all good. Hopefully a bit like sort of Swan, sort of relatively calm on the outside and sort of paddly on the inside.
And what about King Charles? Is he?
I'm sure looking forward to it as well. So it's nice to be out here and saying hello to everyone who's obviously stayed out for so long. And we'll be overnight. Some people are staying overnight. Are you staying out overnight?
I'm part of the press, BBC.
So are you out overnight?
We're here every day.
Yeah.
So it's
going to be a long.
Hopefully it'll be dry.
Are you tired?
A bit.
Yeah, I bet because it's long hours for everybody.
It is.
But no, it's a really great moment. It's
So
a moment of celebration as well.
Have you got an early start tomorrow?
Yes, an early start, but I think everyone has. Very nice to see you. Hello.
So a nervous but excited Princess of Wales. I think on this side of the Mall, a slightly different feel. Let me show you what I've called Camp Julie. This is a tent set up a couple of days ago. The reason it's called Camp Julie is because Julie's the person that did it. Now, I'm going to ask my cameraman Baz to flick around this way. We're going to talk to you, Julie. You met the King when he came by. Is he ready? Is he nervous?
He was very calm, actually, very calm, very quietly spoken. And he just went through the crowds really gently.
You've come with your mum and your sister, so it's quite an endeavour coming down here. I mean, why? Why so excited? Why so much effort?
Well, my mum's 83 and she really wanted to come down to see what was going on, to feel the atmosphere and maybe get a glimpse of what's happening. And she was so lucky because she actually got to shake the King's hand. So
okay, all right, Nigel, let's talk to you. You come from Cheltenham. Slightly more personal association for you because you did serve in the armed forces. What was it like when you spoke to the King? What did you say to him?
Well, I didn't really get a chance to speak to him, which is congratulations, Your Highness. Shook his hand and then he was on his way.
On a slightly deeper level, I mean, if you were still in the forces, you'd be fighting for king and country. What kind of a king do you want him to be in this new era?
I think the king that he is, to be honest, the prince that he was, and I don't think he's going to change that much more in what he's going to be as a king.
Do you sense a continuity between him and his mother, although this is a time for a different and change and very much a new era in terms of the monarchy?
I think he'll do things his own way, but obviously some of the things that his mother did previously he'll take on board as well.
Okay, so I think you've got to clear the tent, am I right, tomorrow morning and then push forward for the big day?
Yeah, we have to take the tent down by 6 o'clock and then push forward.
Okay, all right, Nigel, Julie, thank you so much for talking to us. They've been here, I think, for a couple of days. They're ready. Hopefully the weather's ready. Let me just show you what Nigel's also got down here, all the important stuff to keep him going through the night.
Oh, yes, I like the look of that, Robin. Maybe we'll open that a little later when I've finished. You're right, though, the tent has to go by 6 tomorrow, things being battened down. There's a less relaxed feel, actually, around here today. Security really taking over now. You'll see all these police behind me, lots of dogs around. They're going from tent to tent, box to box. Everything is being checked. The biggest security operation that they have manned here in London for a long, long time. And of course, you'd expect that with leaders from 100 countries, royal families coming in, and so many people who will be on the Mall tomorrow. So a very big day for the police and the security services today, getting everything ready for the big event tomorrow. We'll have plenty more Coronation coverage for you. That's coming up in the next hour, but I'll hand you back for the moment to Lewis in the studio.
Christian, thanks so much for that. Right, we're going to go to Serbia. An awful story, I'm afraid. At least 8 people have been killed in the country's second mass shooting in a week. The gunman opened fire from a moving vehicle about 40 miles south of Belgrade. Police have arrested the suspected attacker. The country's president has promised gun control measures that would include removing thousands of guns from people's homes. Well, we can cross now live to Serbia. Nikola Dencic is a journalist with the publicly owned Radio Belgrade 1. Thanks very much for being with us. What do we know about what happened here?
The first information are that everything started last night. The suspect who was caught in the early morning hours started shooting in one village in the municipality of Mladenovac, which is actually a border municipality of Belgrade. For now, we only have unofficial information, but what could be heard is that there were some kind of a quarrel or a fight with a group of people, and then that he went back to his house, took an automatic rifle, and when he got back, started shooting. Then he drove to another village that was nearby, started shooting at people again, and at that time he ran in his car the whole night. So the special forces and the police were trying to find him, and he was found in the early morning hours. He was hiding with his grandfather. For the thing that we know at this time, he did not live in that neighborhood, but he was there because there was supposed to be a celebration, but and now all that is cancelled because of the tragic killings that happened 2 days ago.
Okay, just very, very quickly, this comes, of course, after the dreadful shooting in the school. Just very quickly, what have the authorities said they want to change now?
The idea is that was brought up after the shooting that happened in Ribnikar school on Wednesday, that there will be a 2-year ban on a new permit for gun ownership, and what is planned now is for them to be even more severe in the next month, which is
Nicola,
the decision that
I see.
Can you hear me?
Nicola Dejic, I'm so sorry. We're coming right to the end of the programme, so I have to jump in and interrupt you there. But appreciate you for coming on and talking us through that absolutely dreadful story. All right, plenty more coverage from here in London. For now, I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. This is BBC News.